Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to 2025. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year. What I'm looking to do today is show you how we recover very deep shadows. You see this shot here I took in Edam in the Netherlands, in Holland. I've got the inside of the shop sort of showing here so you can see inside as well as outside. But where did we start? Well, we started with this image here, and you can see I've overexposed the image by about one stop to try to give me as much data as possible in here. And what I'm going to do in this video is take you through the process of how to recover that information so that you can have quite a decent shot with the inside of the shop, because there's so much going on in there with the cheese. I'll talk a little bit about the cheese company here as well as we go through the video. If you like the video, please click like. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free to put them down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, it would be great to have you to join me here on my ongoing adventure here on YouTube. Still having a great time. Also, I've released the dates for my 2025 London workshop. If you've got 5 minutes, it'd be great for you to pop over and have a look. Here we go. Have a look at my work in the gallery. You can learn a little bit about me, the gear I use, and you can go into the workshop section here and you can see the London workshop. There's more information available here. You can click on that and have a look through and see what it's all about. I'm also hopefully going to release my autumn workshop, which is the Medieval Cities workshop, and that should be out in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for those. There's a couple of spaces left for London, so feel free to give me a shout if you've got any questions. It'd be great to have you join us. Okay, let's get started. How do we really dig deep into buildings that have very dark areas and expose those so you can see them? Of course, you can just open your shadows, as we always do. You can just go to your shadow slider and you can move that all the way over, and there you go, you can see inside. But of course, it adds a great deal to the outside here as well. So you can bring down your highlights to try to compensate, and then of course you can just drop down the exposure a little bit. But if you really want to bring this further, make it look even brighter, so almost looking straight into the shop here, then what we can do is we can go into masks. We can take object selection, just come across here, just go around and pick up the area that is dark using the object selection brush. There we go. Make sure you fill in the center. So it will select that for you perfectly. I think it's wonderful, these masks, how well they work. You can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see how good that mask really is. There we go. You can, let me just make it a bit smaller. There we go. So we've selected that area there. We also want to do this area over here in the darkness here. So we can just go to add, inside mask one, we just go to add, we add another object, make the brush a little bit smaller. And then we're just going to select that area there, including the shadows. You see, we pick up on the shadows, and then I'm just going to come up along that edge there. And then it will select that area for us. There we go. Now, maybe we don't want it on that white pillar. Maybe we want to leave that white pillar not in the selection. Well, to do that, what we can do is just go to subtract. We can select a brush. We'll make the flow 100% because we want to remove 100% of it, and we want to make the feather 0. So there's a nice sharp edge. We can make the brush smaller using the square brackets to the left of the return key. Here we go. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to click at the top. One click. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click again, so I can just do a nice straight edge along there. Now I also want to add this little bit in down here, so I'm just going to go to add again. Go back to objects, make the brush smaller again, and I'm just going to go in there, around there, and just pick up that little bit there. And you see I'll add that in as well, okay? So there's the selection that we've made. I'm thinking at the top here, we probably don't want this illuminated as well. So let's just zoom in there a little bit more and just move over, have a look. So we probably don't want to light that up, but I'm going to leave it for the minute because we can always change things later. You see it's caught the edge of this door as well. So what we can do is we go back into that removal brush. There it is. Take the brush we've got, click at the top, and then come down to the bottom of the door and click again with the shift key. Nice sharp edge running down there. We'll just have a look at this other one here. Quite happy with that. We don't want the chap's hands to be affected, so we can just, using that remove brush, we can just remove that. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out. So we've got the selection for that dark area. And what we can do is we can now make changes specific to that area there. So I'm just going to come down to the sliders within this brush. And I can always open the shadows up even further if we want to. I can do that. So we've added another 2 stops effectively on top of the number we've already done. And we can also just increase exposure. So it's really nice and bright in there. Maybe I'll bring the shadows back a little bit and we'll just use the exposure just to bring it up a tiny bit. I'm going to add a little bit of contrast in there because there is a difference in contrast between the indoors and the outdoors. So just a little bit of contrast. And you can see that that really has brightened it all up. But what you are seeing is that we are now pushing a huge amount of noise in this area, you can see, because the original image was already overexposed to try to make sure I got the data inside the room. 100 ISO, we then pushed the shadows up by 2 to 3 stops. We've added another 1.5 stops, possibly 2 stops with our exposure changes. So that's 5, maybe 6 stops. We've basically lightened this area, and 6 stops would give us, 1 stop is 200, then 400, 800, 1600 ISO, and then 3200 ISO. 6400 ISO is what we're effectively pushing in here. Now we can apply some local noise correction within this mask. We're still in this mask. We can go down to the section, the details section, and we can go to the noise reduction slider and just take that all the way up, and that will get rid of some of the noise. But what it does do is it blurs it ever so slightly. We can add sharpness to that, but you end up with this fight between sharpness and noise reduction. The better way to do this is to use noise reduction. I'm going to select 50%, and I'm just going to do the whole image itself. So this is what it's thinking before and after. So it says it's going to take 15 seconds here. So this is a little bit older image. I took this one a few years ago, and this was when I had a Sony A7R4, so it's 61 megapixels. So it's a lot of data there. So it's going to process that now. So once it does the noise correction, it will do it to the whole image, of course, not just the dark areas. But you will see quite a marked improvement. And I think denoise provides somewhere between 4 to 5 stops of noise correction. So there we go. We've got these completed the work, and there is a little bit of artifacting around there, you can see on that sort of wall area up there, and we can deal with that as well if we want to. We can make another selection here to deal with that. So go back into mask, create a new mask, go to object selection, and then just paint that white area in where you see that there is a little bit of almost like JPEG artifacting. It isn't JPEG artifacting, it's just fighting with the colors because there's so much noise correction that was needed in that area. So I've selected that area. So we can go down and use manual noise correction here. So I can pull that over to the right. Still a little bit of noise in there. We can move the moire slider to compensate for the differences in color, the patchiness. You see how that's corrected that there. So the moire slider does help that, and I can even probably bring the noise back. But seeing that it's just a blank panel, there's no need. We can give it quite a high degree of correction. So I'm happy with that. So let's come out of masks. Let's zoom back to where we were, and you can see it's really illuminated the inside of that area. So let's just do the rest of the correction on this image here. We do need to just look at the perspective, because you can see this edge of the building is leaning to the right slightly. It was taken at 19 millimeters, so it is quite wide. So I'm just going to go down to transform. I'm going to select guided, and then I'm going to take this drain pipe that's here and just take a line along the edge of that drain pipe there. And then I'm going to go over to these buildings over here. Maybe this drain pipe we can see here as well. Just go alongside that. And I'm just going to find where we are. There we go. And then pick that. So we've got these 2 verticals, and there we go. It's corrected. Well, a lot of the problems you have, if you have perfect verticals, quite often the optical illusion makes it look like it's sort of leaning to the left or right. So there's an easy way to do that. You just grab the bottom of the line that you've put, the guided line you've put in, and move it either to the left or right slightly. And what it will do is it will move the image to compensate. So that one looks more realistic. It's still leaning slightly to the right. So if I go slightly to the left, it will pull it to the right. There we go. And same with this one over here. This one looks relatively straight actually, but I will just do a minor correction. Those buildings were leaning forward ever so slightly. So I want to try to keep that illusion in place with that. Wherever you go in Holland, there's always a bicycle chained to the lampposts. It's hilarious, but there always is. This is a beautiful little bicycle here. We're going to leave that in the shot. A little bit of history actually about Edam, the area of Holland. You know, they've been making cheese there since the 14th century. This particular building, 17th century, and the business that runs here, Henry Willig, it was established in 1957. So it's genuine Edam cheese. And actually, we went to visit here because I'm quite a cheese fan. These guys had won in a number of years the gold medal in the World Championship for cheese production, because it's locally sourced dairy. It's all done by hand. Phenomenal. And the cheese tastes absolutely amazing. So, and actually in 2024, Henry Willig here, they won the gold medal in 2024 for the World Championships for cheese. All credit to them. This is a real deal when you come to eat cheese. And if you do ever get the chance to go to the Netherlands, to Holland, take a trip up to some of the cheese regions, Gouda and Edam and some of the other areas around there. The cheese is fantastic. It's also wax coated, so it lasts, you know, almost years really, as long as you don't open the wax. The cheese is fantastic. But anyway, I digress. Back to this image. So I see that I not quite got the top of that tower in. So maybe I just probably want to remove that a little bit there so we're not getting that sort of edge distraction. So I am going to jump over to Photoshop and just take a few things out. And on reflection, I think I do want to take these signs out here. So let's just right click on the image where we are. Right click, edit in, go to Adobe Photoshop 2025. And I just want to deal with that top of that tower there. So we're going to go to the remove tool. We're going to zoom in to the top of the tower. There we go. Got the remove tool. And we will just take that off. Remove. There we go. Cracking job. Let's just take those signs out that we were looking at. So we can try with the remove tool to remove them. Let me just come back through here and just see if it can do it. Let's highlight the one below as well. Without using generative AI, it is in auto mode, so it may choose to do it. So let's have a look. No, it didn't need it. You can still see the mark, however. So I'm just going to go back to there, and I'm going to make a selection this time, and I'm going to use generative AI. So I'm just going to go in the lasso tool. There we go. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll use the polygon lasso tool so we can do nice straight lines. So we click once and we can just draw around. Let's do both at the same time. Let's not mess about. There we go. Nice square where the signs are. Go generative fill and generate. There we go. So that's worked perfectly well. So I'm happy with that. So is there anything else we need to deal with here? Lots of bicycles tied to lampposts. No problem at all. Maybe we'll take this bin out over here. So let's just do the same thing. I'm still in generative fill, so I'm still using the polygonal lasso tool. So a nice little square edge there, and we will click generate, and it will take the bin out by the canal there. There we go. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Good. Okay, I'm just going to bring these together because I'm happy with those. So I just highlight all of them by clicking on one, then shift click another, and then I'm just going to merge visible so they're all together. So probably don't want to have the heater showing in the back there. It's a little bit distracting. So we'll go back into the heal tool and we can just take that out with the heal tool. No problem at all. Anything else? A little bit of rubbish here and there. Unfortunately, you see it everywhere you go these days. This one's actually quite a clean place, but there's a few little bits and pieces. So I'm just in the remove tool, and I'm just going around with the little brush and just clicking on the things I don't want to see. So I'm just sort of making multiple selections, really. You can go crazy with this, and I think I've said it before. This gets a bit therapeutic. I can spend quite a bit of time here trying to find all the little marks and all the little problems that we want to correct. But I'm not going to go too mad here. Just going to take that drain out as well. Just there. There we go. Okay, and then when you're ready, click the check mark. Good, right. Let's have a look. What should we do to finish this image off? Well, I think for the sake of Photoshop, I think we are in a good place. So I'm going to send this back to Lightroom, File, Close, because I don't want it in Photoshop anymore, Save, and that will pop it back into Lightroom. There we go. So let's just finish this image off. I'm happy that we can see inside. I'm just going to probably darken the whole scene just a little bit, because I like to relight the scenes in my own way. We obviously we want to make this a little bit brighter now because the whole scene is a little bit. So we can go back now into masks. We'll reselect these areas again using the object selection. So we're just going to go around, do the same thing again. It's going to come around there, and we'll just make that a little bit brighter. Here we go. That's added, and then we will add another object just to do this bit on the other side like we did before. So we're just going to come back in here. Now we're not doing quite such a big brightening this time, so we don't need to be really specific, but we're just going to go in there and just brighten that all up just that little bit more. About there, that'll do. And then the whole scene we just want to brighten a little bit as well. So we can use create a new mask. We can use radial gradients, and I always find these are really, really useful to try to create light in different areas. Maybe we should light these lanterns as well, but let's just see for the second. I'm just going to take quite a big radial around this side here. I'm going to pull it up over this side. I don't want the sky getting lightened here, so I'm just going to subtract the sky from this radial, and it does that very well. And then we're just going to brighten that up. So we've got a bit of light coming from that side. That works well. We're going to brighten up this front area as well. So create another mask, another radial gradient here. So I'm going to take quite a big radial. I'm going to put it down this end, turn it so it's running in the same direction as the front of the building here. Take quite a big one. Bring up the brightness there. It's much brighter down this end, as you can see. If it's too bright down that end and you're not getting the sort of level of gradient that you want, you can always just go to the three little dots, intersect the mask with a linear gradient, and then what we can do is we can pull a linear gradient, look, you see, from left to right, or we can turn that linear gradient around. So if I just turn that around the other way around like so, we can then bring more or less to the other end within the mask. So there you go. If I look at the mask as a whole, you can see that if we want no radial down that end, we can move the gradient over just to get it. But I think we do. So just want to pull that over like so, and that works really well. So the light's coming from sort of left to right. You can see, sorry, right to left. You can see the shadows here. So maybe we just want to put a pool of light on the ground. So let's go back in, take another radial gradient. We'll take quite a large radial gradient. We'll put it just out of shot over here. Pull this from left to right across like this. And then we will just bring that a little bit brighter there. That's working quite well. And there's just the front of the building really that I'd like to light up a little bit more. So create another mask, another radial. We will take a radial here and pop it along the front of the building. Don't want the sky in the shot. Okay, so what we do is we go subtract in that particular mask, and then we say we want to subtract the sky, takes the sky away. And then we can just raise the exposure a little bit in that area. Just make that a little bit brighter. I think this area here needs a little bit more information, a little bit more brightness. So again, another radial. Just going to come in on that area there and just bring that up a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of contrast to there. And that's looking pretty good. The sky, probably want to just do some things with the sky. So let's create another mask. Select the sky this time. Let's go to the three dots and intersect the sky with the sky. And we do that to get a much better edge. As you can see, it does help with the edge. And then what we can do is then, this is where it gets clever, we can intersect that with a linear gradient coming from maybe this side across, so we can get different effects. So we can make it a little bit darker over this side, maybe add a little bit more blue into that sky on this side. So we've got dark sky on this side, a little bit brighter over this side. And last of all, I'm just going to take another radial gradient in the sky up here. Just going to pull it from left to right as such. I'm just going to intersect that with the sky again, okay, just to make sure that it's in the sky, not on the buildings. And then we can just maybe make that a little bit brighter, add in a little bit of color up there, a little bit of contrast. And I think that looks pretty good. Come out of masks and we'll do our final adjustments. So I think I'm just going to open up the shadows a little bit, bring down the highlights just a little bit here, a little bit brighter. That's looking okay. I'm going to boost the color with a little bit of vibrance because there's a lot of color going on in this image here. And I think just to finish this one off, I'm going to put in a post-crop vignette. So go down to effects. We will put a vignette in, quite a hard one there, probably around about -30. And then what's important when you put a post-crop vignette in is you go to the feather slider and just feather that really right the way out. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe just a bit brighter overall. Just going to brighten the whole thing up just a little bit more. You've got the inside of the shot nice and bright. In fact, it might even be a little bit too bright. Let's just pop back, go back to that original mask, and let's just bring that down just a little bit. There we go. That works quite well. Now you can see inside the shot. You've got the image. There we go. So that's how you deal with really dark areas. But remember, you must overexpose initially to give you that data. If you don't overexpose, you'll end up with no data in that area, and that's very difficult to then recover. In fact, it's almost impossible. So well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, click like. If you like what I'm doing on YouTube, I'd love you to subscribe and join me on my ongoing adventure, having a great time. And if you've got any comments or questions, feel free to pop them down below. A little bit quicker one this time. For now, I'm going to say bye-bye.